be here for the second session. Thoroughly enjoyed last week and really enjoyed the questions, and that's crucial, Tina, for mentioning that. All questions are appreciated, and I think Nat will be fielding those throughout. So please do keep coming in, because it's a pleasure to answer them for you. So yes, discover the European Alps, as this slide says, a big topic, a big part of the world. Last week we touched a bit into the countries, the destinations, the ski resorts. This week we're going to focus a little bit more on product and what that is on offer, and what we can offer you with the Oxford Ski Company. And I appreciate this is a big topic. We're not going to go through property by property, don't worry. And I can't condense 25 years of building up this fantastic portfolio in 20 minutes. But hopefully it'll just give you a little bit of insight into differences and what is there in store if people come and stay in the European Alps. So, got a bit quick there. So just quickly, there's going to be a few categories today: property types, what type of products suit what type of groups, the difference between, and I've called it here, a US villa and a ski chalet, just highlight some of those differences, and a little bit at the end on when to go and where. What are the good times of the season to be traveling? Again. So we have three different property styles. And with this, it's quite important to say this, as the business has grown, we've also made sure we have individual teams that really are experts in these different categories, because we want to be the experts. It's a very niche skiing anyway, and within that there are different nuances too. So to have a team of people who really specialize in the chalets or villa or private home product, a team that specializes in the self-catered apartments, and a team that specializes in the hotels, has worked exceptionally well for us. Now they all work together. Because some people don't know what they want to have, so they're very much working together on this. But individually, they have just a much higher level of expertise when they work within those departments. And I think that is quite important to highlight, because that's a sort of level of knowledge that we want to be able to pass on to you and in turn your client. So we're starting with the hotels. We have about 130, 40 that we work with, and now they vary enormously in shape, size, color, style, everything, which is quite exciting. And I firmly therefore believe there is something for everyone, because there is the old school grand dame, as we call them, of 5-star hotels, to the brand new, like the picture bottom left, a bit more modern, opulent luxury, which is being created kind of every season within the Alps. So there's something for everything and everyone in between. And every single client of ours has different preferences and what they like or don't like. We'll only work with the top end, so the 5-star product, but within 5-star, as we all know, being in the world that we work in, there's quite a big variety. There's top end 5-star and there's kind of entry level 5-star. But I suppose if we were talking about where our pricing comes in for this, based on a family of 4, so our average booking in a hotel is a family, 4 people, 2 adults, 2 children, based on 7 nights, it's from about $8,000 for that week. To give you a kind of starting price, coming in much lower than that, it's not going to really be suitable for what we have to offer. The top end of it is, it's in the hundreds of thousands for a week. So it really has a huge variety when it comes to it. But just to give you a starting price for 7 nights. The next category, luxury apartments. I mean, everything one could say is luxury. Try not to use it, but this is relatively new to our portfolio. It's only about 2 years we've been working with this. So what we've seen over the last few years is a product which has really grown in popularity. I think in the US, they're often called condos or residences. And when I say it's new, is developers across the key resorts have been I suppose you could say, knocking down old and building new, and that's what's been attractive. This is brand new product. It is modern in standards. It's high tech in standards. It is really appealing. And initially, our clients would go, "I don't want to be in an apartment. I want my own chalet or my own five-star hotel." But these kind of sit somewhere as a bit of a hybrid now. They're often in fantastic locations, ski in, ski out. They vary from 3 to 6 bedrooms in size, so kind of one family or two families or even more. So there's, you can see the middle picture. They're appointed with fireplaces and got a real alpine chic feel to them. They come with a minimum service level, so you're not literally, here's the key, you're on your own. They have housekeeping, so kind of that just pleasure of coming back to a clean, apartment. The kitchen's clean, the bathrooms are clean, the towels put away, the beds are made, kind of thing. But you can also add other service levels. So breakfast is probably the next most common. I think we sell most of these with bed and breakfast and housekeeping. So that is a kind of standard with this. And then there's also a kind of reception desk and often a concierge desk to help arrange other things on a daily basis. And some of them have facilities like a hotel, so have a spa, a pool, even a basic restaurant or bar. So you have a kind of a bit of a hybrid going on here. But it's for those who want to be a little bit more private, but also quite happy to be self-contained, don't need to be super looked after and sort of spoiled in every part of the journey. And then the last category, and this is probably our biggest category, and the main one that I want to focus on here is the ski chalets. So villas, I think is a term used often in the US, but we have a portfolio of about 600 of these ski chalets across the European Alps, which sounds a lot, but then over the years we've built up that portfolio to make sure it is a lot, because we have clients who are looking for these properties. Now these stand out each year. I'm going to say they get better and better, and this experience of staying in a chalet is becoming more and more popular. So I think 20 odd years ago it was hotel or apartment, quite basic, quite standard. The hotel product grew up, and then the chalet product was there, but it was quite basic and quite standardized. Now what we have in this ski chalet market is something exceptional. This is really comes into its own when you have larger groups of people. So one family, as I said earlier, hotel, 2 families or 3 families. So you're sort of 8, 10, 12, up to 16 people. The largest probably does 8 bedrooms, 16 people. The reason it doesn't get any bigger than that is then it gets categorized as a hotel and it comes into a whole different bracket and structure of building. So these are perfect for big groups, multi-generational family groups. As soon as you have a group of people, which is basically, right, we're going to be 8, 10, 12 people traveling, this is when you want to start thinking chalets. And normally people are always thinking hotels. And this is where you want to try, and I think we want to try and help change the mindset, because what this effectively gives clients is exactly the same level of service as you would get in a 5-star hotel, but it's yours, it's private. And Tina stayed in a couple with us, and so she's witness to that over the years. And when I say that, is they have the same facilities. So the bedrooms are of the same standard, obviously all en suite. You have the facilities of a hotel. So you have rather than a restaurant, you have a dining room, but a private dining room is all your own. You have private, you have swimming pools, you have spas, you have cinemas. Some of them even have bowling alleys. Some of them have nightclubs. So the kind of list of what these things offer is endless. They have children's playrooms, children's TV rooms, areas that you would break out spaces that you would love to have. You have in a 5-star hotel, but you have them in a chalet, and this is all yours. So not only have you got the facilities and there's incredibly well-appointed property, but with it, you then have a team of staff. And I think this is the other bit, because we often get told, I would really want to stay at a hotel because a chalet is not as good. Excuse me. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to cough, so I'm just going to mute myself. I think we're good to go. Sorry about that. So they have a team dedicated to you. Starting at, I suppose, the top, you have a chalet manager and head of concierge. So they are there to work with you every detail of their stay, of your stay, whether it be whether you're out the chalet, on the mountain, which restaurants you might want to go to, other activities you might want to do, dog sledding, helicopter sightseeing, all the bits that you, on a naturally daily basis, when you're staying in a hotel, you might go to the concierge desk to ask. You have your own person to do it all for you. You have a chef. Some of them have more than one chef. You have chefs. These chefs are there to create and curate the menu exactly as you want it. Not just the obvious dietary requirements or preferences, but really, what food would you like to eat? What food would the children like to eat? Would you like to eat together or separately? What time of day would you like to eat? This, every day they can discuss the menu with you. And this is something that once people realize, they go, hang on, this is really nice, because actually sitting in a hotel, however amazing it is, you're still having to read a menu. You're still having to look at it. This is actually, it's always quite disruptive. You have to make choices. You don't need to make choices. You can say to the chef, we really would like to have something, fish tonight, or we just actually want to sit in the cinema and have like kind of snack food and watch a movie because we've been out for a really big lunch up the mountain and had lots of fun. So this is where a chalet comes into its own. It is yours. It's like owning your own property with your own staff for a week and living that world and doing what you want. So it is that high level. They come in from pricing wise, again, based on 7 nights. Let's go back 8 to 10 people here. They start around $25,000 and then they go up to 50, 80, 100. It really depends on various factors. But if you compared it, say, to the yacht charter world, you have the super yachts, the really big ones right at the top. There's a handful of those which are amazing. And then below that, you've got another tier of still incredible yachts, but just slightly smaller, perhaps slightly different in what they offer in terms of facilities. And then perhaps below that, you have a sort of entry level tier, which is still amazing, has all the staff and still looks after you, but may just have the spa facilities like a hammam and a sauna, but not perhaps the indoor pool or something like that. So it's quite hard to say what that price bracket actually incorporates, but you have everything in that range from the entry level right up to the super yachts. What else have we got on this? I think just touching on this, I think I probably covered this in conversation. When you rent a villa or or private home in the US, it tends to be quite, you've got the bare basic and then you build everything up. And you can add the facilities that are listed on the right here under the luxury alpine chalet. In the Alps, these properties, these chalets have all these things as standard. Everything is there included, the team of people. In some of them, the food and the drink are included. Others you pay on top at the end of the stay. It just depends on the property. But effectively, it is all ready for you to go with a team of people to be looked after and spoiled. And then last bit, where to go and when. Just keen to highlight the peak dates. The season is getting closer. The season runs from early December through till the end of April. So similar, or very similar to the US. Peak dates of the peak dates and festive are kind of the end of December, beginning of January. The most popular week is the week covering the 1st of January, the New Year week. It's just when everyone likes to go away, I suppose. It's when everyone wants to go and use their own property, or it's when everyone wants to go on a holiday themselves. So that tends to be the most popular. And the second most popular week is what we call February half term. To explain that effectively, that is the mid to the end of February, which is the European holidays. And they're all at that time of the year because that's when they go skiing, because it's mid-season. And so what we call February half term is the February European holidays. But actually, around that, I think there's some quite good opportunities. And looking historically at clients that we've booked in, there's the spring break was certainly very popular with clients from the US. So getting away in March, that was, and it's a good time to go. It's still very much within the main bulk of the season. But sort of anything in March is just a little bit quieter because it's after the peak of the February. And it's still early enough to have good snow and good snow conditions, and it's just before the kind of Easter holidays, which has a little bit of a smaller peak at the end of the season, certainly for the French and the UK and some markets. If I was going to highlight other times to get away, if you're trying to be clever out of season, the last week in January, first week in February, so before those weeks, just before that February break, are really clever times to go, because it's just a bit quieter in general, and the prices are better. So if you're looking for value for money, a bit quieter, that is the best. And then for the early bird who wants to get some skiing in before the festive holidays, we would want to focus on the higher altitude resorts, but going to somewhere like Val d'Isère before the festive week, so leading up to the week of the 22nd, 23rd of December is also quite a clever time to go away, because the season's just opening, there's not many people around, and the prices are, again, very healthy and competitive. So that is my summary on our property, and when to go where. Questions, please, if any.
Rupert, Tate wants to know if you see there is any, if you can recommend what's the most consistent snow conditions. Where would you say that is? If you can point that out. I don't know if that's possible, but
it's not really that possible. But I mean, the Alps is fairly small, so there are differences between the Western and the Eastern Alps, so the French side and the Austrian side, with Switzerland sort of put in the middle, depending on where the snow pattern comes in from the east or the west. But actually, overall, if you added it all together, the whole of the Alps gets roughly the same amount of snow each year. It just might come at slightly different times. So it might be that as the weather patterns move around, the snow comes, a storm comes in from the west, and then later that week or next week comes in from the east. So it's not necessarily something you literally need to follow, because there doesn't make much difference. The more important bit overall is to keep the altitude high early season and late season. So we would strongly steer you and advise you, if you're going away early in December, the higher altitude resorts, and again, yeah, that's just your better way of looking at it.
Right, perfect, great. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions about what we just talked about.
I think just one thing I could add, Nat, is whether it's a chalet, hotel, apartment, whatever property one is looking at, we're there to steer you and help and advise, and our team of advisors there really know what to do, and so don't worry, because I'm not expecting anyone to have that knowledge to hand. We are there to steer you, and not just about the accommodation. Secondary level, the second part of it is to make sure every other aspect is helped with. So how to get there, and from the airport to the resort itself. When you're there, the ski instruction might be required for the adults or for the children, the guiding, what other activities can be done. If it is saying a chalet, how does one communicate with the team there, what staff are there, what is included, childcare. A lot of these resorts, we have access to fantastic childcare. You can literally have extra childcare 24/7 if that is what is required, because we have a lot of people traveling with tiny little children and who still want to go skiing, and so what are they going to do when they're out skiing? Have someone to look after the youngest. So all those other bits, we have an experienced team who basically work closely to help advise, book, prepare, all those elements. So it's not just the accommodation, it is those
all the extra details that Tina was mentioning there.
Yeah, really important.
Yeah, a couple of questions. There is one question about Sarmat. Do you still have availability for festive?
Yes, we do. Just I heard a conversation in the office this afternoon saying, "Excellent! I've just got a couple of rooms in a hotel there."
Great.
I know there are some chalets, but it's probably the first resort to sell out over festive.
Okay, so Simone, if you need any help, if you want to reach out to us, that'd be great. And then a couple questions that come up normally when I'm speaking with advisors is, when you look at like your peak season, are we like, this is the time to start booking? Is this around the time when it's too late to start looking at, your best of the best? I mean,
Good question. It's not too late now. Up until this part of the year, up until from January up until now, we've been consistently booking things for next year. But probably the peak booking period really picks up as of the end of August. So September, October, November, and December is really top booking time for the current winter. And then we start still booking more last minute stuff for the current winter, but also start booking for next year. So there is still plenty of good choice out there. Even though we have made a healthy number of bookings, by no means is it all over yet.
right.
Quite the opposite, I would say.
Very
There's
busy.
our job has to been trying to find a big, broad spectrum of portfolios so we have good availability, hopefully up until the last minute, and we have people who book the day before and travel the next day.
Yeah. And then when you're looking at the chalets in like peak season, is there a minimum length of stay that you notice aside from festive, which my guess is yes, but like shorter outside of festive? Like, is there a minimum length of stay that you feel that for those big wow chalets?
Yeah,
a
good question. In general, they work 7 nights minimum, and they're sort of working weekends to weekends. But outside of festive and outside of the February holidays, they are open to discussion. Some are more flexible than others, if I'm honest. Some are very regimented all the way through the winter, 7 nights, boom, 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 that's it. They just won't break it. It's just the way they like to work. But because of our kind of relationships with these properties and our working with them for many years, if there's a degree of flexibility, we can do it. Certainly in January or March, there's more opportunity to have a shorter stay.
Yeah, and then that's it. That's the other question, right? Where is it a 3-day stay in one of the chalets, something that is possible and something that you see, or you see that it's more a 4 and up kind of thing?
4 and up, I would say.
4 and up, yeah. Great.
Now,
Anybody has any other questions?
now there's a question, Rupert, do you have a brochure or marketing material that talks about the luxury villas with pictures and explanations to send out to the clients? This is Kim Hooker asking on the Q&A.
Yes, we do have that. We can have a generic one and also on individual properties.
Okay, so we can send that out actually.
On the follow-up, yep.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all.
we can. Diego, pleasure.
Any other questions that we can answer? Otherwise, any other last thoughts, Rupert, other than lots of bookings?
No, I think probably your last point was quite, lots of bookings, obviously. Your last point, I think, was probably a good one, which is at this time of year, is just, this is the time to kind of get in touch with people and say, look, what are your winter plans? Because the bookings do start coming in a bit thicker and faster, and therefore the best things tend to go first. And as I say, Zermatt is nearly fully booked if it's not in some places. So it's an opportunity, but it's still plenty of opportunity. But if you want some help in what to say and how to word it or do some marketing towards that, we're happy to help and advise.
Yeah, so I'm going to say something that I've seen over and over again with Rupert and his team, which is the fact that if any of you don't feel 100% comfortable about either the product or the destination, the beauty about Rupert's team is that they actually can jump in at any point and actually, quotes, close the sale if you want it. So while you are always there, always in the background, and always in the call, they're actually an extension of your team to try to close the sale, answer all the questions, and instead of you going back and forth between Oxford Ski and your client, the conversation can be a lot shorter if that's what you need to kind of, as I said, close the sale and move the booking farther.
Absolutely, very well put, and a pleasure to help with that always.
Yeah. All right, so I think we don't have any other questions. If any of you have any other questions, you know how to find both Julie, Diego, and I, and of course, Gwen, who's not here. We will send you a follow-up email with this information. And of course, if you need to rewatch this to kind of gather any extra thoughts, this will be set up in our YouTube channel. And thank you very much, Rupert.
Thank you, too. Goodbye, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.